everyone. I'm your host, Brittany Jones Cooper, and welcome back to Build Series. Last time Grace Byers was here, she came to talk about her New York Times bestselling children's book, I Am Enough. Today, she's back to talk about her second book, I Believe I Can, which encourages boys and girls to believe in themselves. I love it so much. Put your hands together for Grace Byers.
Yay. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It was almost exactly 2 years ago that you were here. I think it was March 5th, 2 years ago, which is crazy.
That's right. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
I just got to go through this book, and I just love the messaging in the books that you've written. I know you wrote the first one, I think I remember you said in like 40 minutes, like you wrote it in one sitting.
Right.
Was this a similar experience?
It was not. No, it wasn't. Only because the first was a bit of an anomaly. And so this one, I really wanted to follow the similar pattern. So I had to be a little bit more strategic. So since I was following something, it took a little bit more time. But this one, I worked on it, and I went away and took my eyes off of it for a second, came back, worked on it a little bit more. So yeah.
Was the experience, how was it different? Like, I know the first one was quicker, but was it therapeutic? Was it, I mean, what was
it was exciting. It was exciting because I Am Enough, the response was so wonderful with that book, and I was really hearing a lot of parents and teachers talk about how much more they wanted to see images of little boys as well. And so for me, it was exciting to, even though the words of the first one were not gender specific and the words of the second one are not gender specific, it was important for me to write analogies that little boys could feel like could resonate a little bit more with them as well. So that was exciting to think about, certain, scenarios and situations that little boys might find themselves in. And include that as well. But again, it's like we're also not putting any little boy or little girl in a box. And that's what I love about the book and the images as well. So it's not assuming that, every little boy loves to play sports or, something like that. So it's just widening that spectrum.
What I loved about all the little activities you see the kids doing is that there seemed to be this emphasis on imagination.
Yes.
And playing and creating worlds out of boxes and putting on costumes.
Yes.
Why was that important for you? And I think even specifically as an actor, that you're an actor, it jumped out to me that encouraging imagination and kids exploring what they could be and want to be.
Because it all starts in the mind.
Yeah.
I really feel like anything you want to shift in your life or anything that you really want to come into alignment with, you first have to believe it. You first have to fashion your mind in order to be able to come into physical alignment with that. And one of my favorite verses is, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So important. And so I believe that when we give children the permission to dream, to imagine, to think big, that really that will shape the foundation upon which they'll grow. And it will also just govern how it is that they grow up as adults and interact with the world.
Because we're all born with an imagination, but what do you think is the time that it starts to sort of be pushed away from us? And there comes this point, and I don't even really know where it is, where all of a sudden you start being hyper rational yourself and saying, oh, I can't do that anymore because that's not realistic.
Yeah, I don't know the specific time. I think it's different for everybody. I will say, though, that if you talk to a lot of people, I see that the recurring theme is that something traumatic happened to them, and for some people it's earlier and some people it's later, and I think it's when you come into the ideas of betrayal or bullying or something like that I think kind of jars you into the reality of the world in which we're living.
That was sort of the big takeaway for me, because I think when we talked last time, you've written this for children, but really this is just a book of positivity and kind of a check-in for people.
Yeah.
And, sort of the dialogue that can run through your own head of you telling yourself, no, I can't. This book really challenges you to remind yourself that you can.
Yes.
So why was it so important for you to try to instill that in kids just as young as possible?
Yes, the critical voice is very overwhelming in the world in which we live, There, I think because of technology, it's easier for various people to get a microphone to speak out into the lives of different people, even though you may or may not want it. Like back in the day, we didn't really have cell phones, we didn't really have computers, we didn't really have social media. So we could kind of eliminate the voices that we didn't really want to hear if we just didn't see that person. Nowadays, it's not so easy. And so I really feel like we need more voices to rise up against that and to say, simmer down, keep it on the low, and let's focus on what we can do and our abilities instead.
I'm curious for you, how important, I know your faith is very important to you.
Yes.
How important are things like scripture or positive affirmations or just using those kind of extra tools to help you get through or believe in yourself when you're feeling like you can't?
It's very important to me. I go by life and death is in the power of the tongue. And I really believe that when you speak life over yourself, when you speak life over your children, over your friends, over your career, I really think that you start to plant what I call dream seeds. And when you start to water them with those words, so you plant them with the words, you water them with the words, as well as your actions, you will be surprised at what you can find. And I think on the opposite end, the same thing. Like if you've ever, started to get sick and you say, well, I'm feeling sick. I'm sick. I'm going to get sick. Or I'm so old. I feel so old. I'm so tired. And you start saying those things, then you start to create that reality for yourself. And so it's about not denying the reality in which you live, but it's about choosing to not let that define you and choosing to not succumb or yield to that and saying, I can create something different for myself in this moment.
Well, it's that mind-body conversation that I think we're just now starting to really have. And you hear doctors talk about it when they're treating patients with like a chronic illness even.
Yes.
That mind and the ways that they speak to themselves and the things they say can really kind of impact their healing even.
There was a story that we were talking about earlier of a man who was told that he would never walk again. Mm-hmm. And so for 3 hours every day, he visualized every single vertebra in his body moving. Vertebrae.
However you said it.
Vertebrae is multiple, but every single one moving, and he walked out of there. Yeah. He did.
Yeah. And obviously, who knows? Those are sometimes miracles, but I love the idea of children feeling empowered.
Yes.
And I think learning to speak kindly to yourself at a young age makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel like you really can do anything. So,
absolutely.
Of the book, the illustrations are so amazing. You use the same illustrator as the last book.
Keturah.
Yeah. She's phenomenal.
Amazing.
I actually went through her Instagram this time because I really wanted, her work is beautiful.
Outstanding.
She actually had a picture of herself when she was younger and it sort of looked like this little girl.
Yes.
So do you know if that was the inspiration behind
it could have been Keturah. I don't know. What do you think? I think it could have been, but I also think that there are, because Keturah and I had a couple of conversations about how there are little children also in her life, because I think she has a niece and or a nephew that she fashions some of these children off of as well. So I love it. I love it because literally this little boy looks like my nephew and this little girl looks like my niece.
I think we said this last time. I'm like, this is Elijah. This is Zoe. Yes. I actually gave Zoe a copy of the I Am Enough
She was
book.
like, oh, mine.
Yeah, she was like, oh,
you put me on the front.
What other conversations, you mentioned a little earlier about it being even more inclusive this time around. In the illustrations, you can really see that. You see kids from all walks of life. I loved this time you even had a little boy doing sign language, which I know is very personal to you.
Yeah.
So how important was it just to make sure that every little kid could kind of see themselves represented?
So important. I mean, when I heard so many parents tell me that their children just felt empowered and seen and represented, they didn't feel alone anymore when they saw, some images that reminded them of themselves, when they could walk out of their houses just feeling more confident, why stop there? So I'm like, was there anybody else that might have felt, that they were not included in those images? How can I include them? And so we tried really hard to include as much as we could.
Yeah, and I guess if you didn't get everybody this time, you'll probably just have to write another book.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. Something you're thinking about? I mean, do you have sort of other topics or themes for children that you want to explore?
I have another book that I might be working on, yes.
Knew it.
And but this one, it's not going to follow the same. It's still going to be poetic. It's not going to follow the same stanza setup as these two books. But I think it's going to be more of a story from beginning to end. And so I'm exploring that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Have you started writing?
I have. And right now what it is it's following a child from the beginning to the end of their day. And things don't go as planned. And so it's about how to kind of combat that, so
resilience.
Yeah.
I love that. How important is your community and support system? Because you seem really positive.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're not all the time, right?
Right.
So how important is it for you just to have like that network of girlfriends or people around you?
Precisely that. There are days that I don't feel as positive, that I don't feel as indomitable as I'd like to feel. And so I actually have, and this is very rare, I have a close-knit circle of about 8 to 10 girlfriends that I can go to at any time, as well as sisters, family members, and my husband. Okay, he puts in his work. Okay, I'm like, Hattie, come and talk to me. But it's so important for you to have people around you that can remind you of who you are, you know, because again, there's so many voices that want to tell you you can't, or that assume that they know you, as opposed to people who walk through you through the mountains, through the valleys. They know all aspects of you, and they can say, come on, sis, like, you know you can do this, you know, and I need that. We all do. And so I have it, and you need it.
I bring that up because I saw some of the videos from your sit and sip.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's why I did it.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like women in the industry. You guys are just unpacking all of life and all of these things.
That's right.
And it is so therapeutic to watch, because it's what I also do with my friends.
Oh, good.
And it's like you have that safe, honest place.
That's
so is
right.
that what that's for you? Like, is that why you started that? Is just to open up that
did.
conversation even more?
I did, because I feel like a lot of times when we see on social media people sitting down and talking, it can very easily turn into something a little bit more salacious, you know, and they want to find out, you know, personal details about what you're. I'm more interested in what did you, through your walks of life, what did you face that's for real? Maybe some of us are facing that as well. How did you come out on the other side? It's about people feeling uplifted and encouraged, and more than all of this, feeling less alone. I really believe that when we share our stories, when we're transparent about that the purpose of doing that is so that people can feel less alone.
Yeah. And I applaud things like this even more now, because we are just in this weird time, right? I think globally everything just feels really out of whack.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people going too far inside themselves instead of reaching out to their community and actually talking about what's ailing them. And I've just been trying to do that even more in my life, just having like real honest conversations instead of just saying, I'm fine.
That's
like if
good.
it's a real friend, just being like, actually, can you
Yeah.
help me like work through this? It's so important.
That's good. Asking for it.
Yeah. You also have a show that I just read about.
Yeah.
That's coming out on Amazon.
Yes.
Which is sort of along these themes of like female empowerment
Yeah.
and like, using your community. So can you talk about that show a little bit? It sounds really like something I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it. Tracy Oliver is helming this one. And so, you know, we know her from Girls Trip, and we know her from First Wives Club, and just so many things that she's doing. And what I love about Tracy is that she shies not away from creating opportunities for women of color, and also venturing into a space where she really wants to translate that human experience for every single person to enjoy at the same time, right? And so I'm thankful for her for creating that opportunity. But it's for women of color, friends since NYU, and in Harlem, and just dealing with the culture of Harlem. We know that there's a lot of gentrification happening there now, dealing with relationships and woes. Everyone's trying to find love in all the wrong places. But, you know, just that earnest heart for love, for community, to be able to move forward in their life with their careers. They're having career issues, and just how they band together and how they help each other through it. How they navigate conflict, how they navigate life. And so it's funny, it's a comedy.
That's what I was going to say. It's a comedy.
It's hilarious.
Which I was like, I don't know if I've seen you do like comedy.
No.
So what was appealing about this project was that you got to kind of stretch
Oh
a
my
little bit.
God, are you kidding? Yes. And what's interesting is that like so many people don't see me in the comedic world because they're so used to me being like, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 all that, you know? And in real life, I'm goofy. Like I'm a goof, you know? And so all of my friends would always be like, Grace, when are you going to do a comedy? Oh my gosh. And so it was so much fun to be able to spread my wings a little bit to improv. And it's so great because a lot of the producers are coming to me and they're like, are you sure you haven't done comedy before, girl? Because you are hilarious. Yeah, it's like, I'll take it. But I think you're really going to enjoy it. I mean, it's laugh out loud on page, so I can only imagine how much people are going to enjoy it when it's up.
Right, and you're doing it with a friend, Megan Good, right?
That's right. That's my girl.
Right?
Yes.
You know that's going to be a good time. Because you know when
Yes.
people have that chemistry off camera, you're like, oh, this is gonna be fantastic.
Yes, and I'm going to to boast on Megan a little bit. Megan has been in the industry for a very long time, and she has every reason to be a recluse. And Megan is probably one of the warmest, one of the most loving people I have ever met. She's gracious, she's kind, she's wise, and I am proud to call her friend. Yeah, she is who she seems to be.
That's
and I
so
love
refreshing. Yeah, because everything I've ever seen with Megan has just been so positive, and her just like
Yes.
going high when people love to go low.
That's right.
And you see it time and time again. So it's nice.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that friendship.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
me
cool.
too.
So what else are you looking forward to? It seems like you got a lot on your plate, but 2020, a lot of people said that like New Year's resolutions don't really start until March. You know, so what are you looking forward to? Let's be real. January and February were a wash.
Well, I love that. For me, I am very interested in getting my health together. I think that that's a big thing, you know. Self-care is very important. And, you know, recently I'm going on an experiment where I'm kind of swearing off processed sugar for some time because I'm a sugar fiend. And I'm trying to, you know, just drink more water. I'm trying to sleep more. I'm trying to get my digestion on track. Trying to work out more, you know. I just feel like sometimes it's easy for the busyness of life to just kind of run me rampant in a sense. And so I want to sculpt out more time to take care of myself.
What I've learned, and I think we're about the same age, is that those things no longer are options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you start actually feeling it every day and you're like, oh, I have to make some major life changes.
Yes.
Discipline is real.
Precisely.
Oh.
Precisely. Even down to stretching recently.
Yes, I stretch so much now.
Do you?
Every night. Every night.
You got to give me your routine, girl, because
I'm like stretching my piriformis, like all this.
You're
stuff.
what?
Yeah, see, I know the words of my muscles. I know the names of them.
Okay, I'm like, which muscle?
Walking around all stiff, like something about turning 34. I was like, I'm stiff now.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so important, I think, just to like, the more disciplined you are about those things, I find the more disciplined I am in my professional life, and I'm more intentional about other things.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the point of it. Yeah. That's the point of it.
But I'll show you my stretches.
Yes, please.
They're not
please,
very
please,
complex.
please.
They're a lot of track stretches.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Who do we got first? Michael?
Hi.
Hi.
Growing up, what was your favorite book? I know as an accomplished author, you have to have been inspired by somebody.
Yes. I inspired to write not by children's books, but two of my favorite children's books growing up was The Giving Tree and Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I love both. Do you guys know Fantastic Mr. Fox? No? It's really good. And I love The Giving Tree because it just showed selflessness and love and ultimate love, unconditional love, like giving without expectation to receive. And that hit me really largely as a child. But also Fantastic Mr. Fox because it shows, if you don't know it, it's a tale of how a family of foxes kind of avoid getting caught and killed. But it's funny because, not funny, but it's interesting because of the fact that Mr. Fox continually finds ways to push into his own abilities. And that was inspiring as a child because it reminded me that I need nothing, that everything that I need nothing from the outside, that everything that I need comes from the inside. If I were to just look deep down inside and excavate. So I loved that. Thanks for asking.
And Umia?
Right here. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
So my question is, do you have any advice for an aspiring actress in this industry?
Ooh, that's good. Are you one?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Are you in school?
Yes.
Okay, so that would have been my number one. So I think that, training was absolutely the foremost foundation upon which I stand even now, because even if you get into the industry, if you don't have that training or you don't have those things behind you, or at least like years of experience, it's hard to sustain. You know what I mean? It's hard to sustain you in those moments with those long days when like your body is falling out and you need to click into technique and tools. And so I would say absolutely get your training and be a part of a program that's going to have some type of showcase at the end of it. So something that can shape and mentor you at the end. So like whether it's a showcase for agents and like introducing you to people who can provide great headshots, resume building classes, those things are all important.
Okay, Thank you.
You're welcome.
How much did your role on Empire shape you as an actor? Like looking back on that experience and then where you are now.
Yeah, it was a bit of a master class for me, and a boot camp in the same breath, because although I was trained and although I did a lot of theater, it was my very first television gig, and so I was still learning all of the ways to navigate just set and what the terms were and who everyone was and the parts that they played on the crew and just that culture. So that really helped to prepare me for the rest of my film career. Yeah.
That's really cool. And before we go, I have to ask, who was the first person to help you believe that you could do something?
My mother.
Your mom.
My mom, I'm a coda. I'm a child of deaf adults, and so my mom raised my sister and myself. And I've said this a lot, but my mom was the first deaf Caymanian to do so much on island. She was the first one to obtain her driver's license and to be formally educated and to work for the civil service in the Cayman Islands. And that's so inspiring to me because her being the first tells me that there were not many examples that were laid out before her that said, hey, even though you're deaf, you can still do this. So my mom had to tap into her own potential, her own abilities, much of which I think were led very much by God. And she was able to pave that way and then pass that on to my sister and myself. And I've never heard my mom say, I can't, she can't, or I can't. And I've never heard my mom say anything outside of, do what makes you happy. You can do it. I believe in you. And that's very special to have. And so I honor her for that.
That is so special to have because you see the messaging that is sometimes passed down to children. And it's always really just empowering when you hear about a parent who just empowered their kids to believe in themselves and then look at where we are.
That's right.
Now you're writing a book and you're sharing that message with other kids.
Amen.
Yes. So thank you for writing the second book. You've
Thank
given me
you.
Birthday gifts for the next year. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I will sign those books.
Oh, please,
Yes.
please do. And in the meantime, you guys can get your own copy of I Believe I Can. It is available wherever books are sold. Put your hands together for Grace Byers.
Thank you. Thank you.